to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. If you're a regular listener, then you know I have been traveling quite a bit this year with trips to Germany, Texas, Las Vegas, Utah, all the places. Well, today we're going to Nigeria. Virtually, at least. My guest today is Jennifer Chukwujekwe. And I have to say, over the last year and a half or so, I'm loving a lot of these international episodes, learning how designers in Egypt and France and Spain and the Netherlands all do interior design. And now today, we're going to hear about the interior design community in Nigeria. I know that many of you are also finding inspiration for your design, the actual creative globally, right? Globally, you're finding that inspiration. But I also believe that we can learn from and be inspired on the business side of design as well through these successful designers and entrepreneurs worldwide. And in this regard, Jennifer is a powerhouse. She is making serious waves in her home country and beyond. She's a wife, a mother, an interior designer. Jennifer is also the president of the Interior Designers Association of Nigeria. She is the founder, CEO, and creative director of Jenniez Designs, where she provides residential and commercial interior design services. I have been very lucky to have created a friendship with Jennifer through Instagram over the last year or so, and I'm even more lucky to say that we've taken this friendship to real life. I am so impressed by her business savvy, her work ethic, and her ability to recognize a root problem and to hammer out a solution in real time, as like ASAP is what I want to say. Listen, as Jennifer describes, the challenges that she and her peers face in running their interior design businesses in Nigeria. In addition to all of this work, her work in her own community, Jennifer is out here in the international community doing the work to bridge the gap between Africa and the greater world, okay? Her commitment to collaboration, to networking, and mentorship is inspiring and worthy of emulating. Here's Jennifer. All I can say is be prepared to be wowed. Hey, Jennifer, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Thanks a lot for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So how are you?
I am too, Jennifer. This is fun. Yes, I am so excited. I just want to share a quick story. So you and I have been Instagram friends for quite a while. I don't know if it's 1 year or 3 years. I don't keep track of those things, but I have been watching you and all the things you do and so impressed by what I've seen. And so we finally were like, okay, let's meet in real life on Zoom. And so we had, right? So we had like a Zoom about a month ago, I guess it was. And I have to share with you what Diana, my marketing coordinator, said. So when I had the Zoom meeting with you, I didn't put headphones on. I just had it here in the office and she was just off to the side in her thing. And of course, I'm coming to you was supposed to be two friends saying hello to each other. But of course I started grilling you. How did you this? And what did you that? Like my husband always is like, seriously, you just met somebody. I'm like, I know, but it's just the way I do things. I'm just like so infatuated and wanted to learn everything. And as you were describing, and I was asking you about your design business, about your school that you've started, about the advocacy work, all the things you do, I was writing like a mad person and just becoming more and more impressed. And when I got done with you, Diana looked at me and she's like, she's the only person I've ever heard of that makes you look like you're sitting still.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I was like, I know. I like got off and I'm like, okay, I mean, do you have goals, LuAnn, or what?
Oh wow, that's great. Are you serious?
Ah,
Oh wow.
really, I like, and of course, as we talk in this interview, everyone is going to be understanding what I'm talking about. So here's the thing. I mentioned in the introduction that you are a working interior designer in Nigeria, that you have started your own interior design school, which is accredited, has a 2-year diploma, and that you do business coaching also of interior designers. So in the school, you're teaching them design, and then your business coaching arm teaches business, of course, and then you still manage to actually do design. And then you run conferences and all the things. You're like who I
Yeah.
want to be when I grow up is basically you are,
You're still
Jennifer.
growing up, eh? No, no, no. Just kidding.
So, yeah. So, one of the things we're going to talk about the 3 elements. I want to talk about doing design business in Nigeria, because one of the things I learned in our Zoom was, we take for granted here in the US sourcing and
Sure.
getting things that we like delivered to us. And I do know that I've had conversations, for example, with designers at High Point, and 2 designers might be talking about how terrific a great line is. And then if the other designer is from Canada, they'll say things like, oh, do you ship to Canada? And, you know, it's so funny. Every once in a while, a vendor will say no, and we all look at him like, "What?" like we can't even imagine in the U.S. somebody not shipping to us, right?
Mm,
Or the exchange rate is
yeah.
so crazy. But when you and I were talking, we're talking huge hurdles here. Talk to us about doing business as a designer in Nigeria and some of the challenges that you and your colleagues face, Jennifer.
All right. Thank you very much, Luan. Yeah, so doing business can be very hectic here because we need to source for things locally. And most times we actually don't have those things locally. So we have to import them. And that also affects the lead time because if we have to import, it's going to take a long time. And when it comes in, it becomes very expensive. So most times, interior design here is really, really expensive because when you put all the costs together, it can be very hectic. But I think for us, what it has cost is it has made us kind of like try and think or be more creative now and figure out how we can produce these things locally. I think we're doing our best. We're trying. It could be better because we don't have the expertise per se. We do not have the machineries per se. So most times we still have to import those machineries, right? And when we import them, the question now is how do we even get people to use them? So that's another
Yeah.
problem. Yeah. So because people are used to using their hands, most times we have lots of craftsmen that use their hands and things like that. And sometimes when you have to explain to them, when you use a machine, it's faster, it's better. It seems like you're taking something they've always known all their life away from them. So it's a lot of learning process. It's a lot of headaches. So it just makes the process very, very, very hectic. So that's one thing I'm hoping we will get to in Nigeria where we can actually produce locally. We can because we have good wood, right? We have good wood, we have good leather, we have good fabric. The question is just the expertise and the machinery. So once we're able to do that and have the right skills, and we've trained the right trained the right people with the right skills, I guess we'll be able to produce, yeah, quality, yeah, that will meet the international standards. Yes.
So the thing is, what's funny is when we were talking the first time, this came up about 3/4 into our conversation. And this was after I had asked you how you built your design business. We talked about that. It was after I asked you about the school and the reasons that you decided to build that, and then how you went into coaching. And then this came up. And so I'm already like, this is a powerhouse. And you're like, and so I've decided to like look into building some factories here and importing some machinery and now teaching our local craftsmen to do the machine work too. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm
Okay,
throwing my
I'm
pen
done.
up in the air. Like, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Like it's crazy. And so I just realized I should have gone in the same order because it really is remarkable. Like you see a brick wall and you're just
Yeah.
like, nope. let me just sledgehammer through that.
Yeah.
But that is not a small undertaking for you, especially if it was the only undertaking you had, Jennifer. Like, my goal in life is to get up every morning and figure out how to bring manufacturing to Nigeria. But this is like the fourth thing on the list that you do. And by the way, wife and mother too. Like, that's
Yeah.
not, daughter, all the things. So, you know, so the thing is, like, in real life, like, okay, so maybe down the road as you expand that and you go into that, but in the interim, you and all of your colleagues that are designers there, that's like not a small hurdle that you cannot get goods. And what happens when is it something that it's so indigenous to the culture and to the work environment of Nigeria that your clients don't push back? You're like, okay, by the time we import this, it's going to be 6 or 8 months. And they're just like, yeah, we get it. Or do they still give you pushback and say, figure out a different way? Like, what's that frame of mind like with your consumers and your design industry?
Okay. I think for now, people are beginning to embrace made in Nigeria products. So because they have to
Mm,
wait for products to come in and all that, it takes a long time. So people are beginning to embrace it, especially the middle class. So they're open to that. However, we still have there's a mentality we have here that anything that comes from abroad is that's it. So that's luxury. It's good. So that's the problem we're having. So if you have a client, sometimes if you say, okay, can I make it for you here? Or as against importing it, you would actually find clients who would say, I'd rather wait till you get it in. So it's just that's the mentality.
there's a cachet for it being imported that they think it's going to be
I think
better
it's
or it has some
better
status.
quality. Yeah, it's better quality. It shows the kind of status that you have. So Nigerians can also be very
Okay.
flamboyant people. So they want a
Okay.
situation where you come into their home and like, oh, where did you get the chair from? I got it from Italy. I got this from Turkey. I got this from do you get? So
Oh,
it's a thing of
okay.
prestige. It's a thing
Okay.
of showing that you're the upper class. So people like that,
Right.
when you say you want to make made in Nigeria, it's like, they want something,
Oh.
yeah. But for the middle class and the Gen Zs, yeah, they're embracing made in Nigeria. Yeah.
Okay. And for you, I, correct me, but I'm getting the impression from you that it's not just let's have it made here so we can have it quicker. But look, like I said, we've met each other. This is the second time, but I have been watching you and we have been getting to know each other for the last couple of years. I get the sense for you that it's also very much, hey, we
We
can
can
do
do
it
this,
here.
yes.
We can make it beautiful
Yeah.
here. And our country can be proud of this, and just changing that dynamic of expecting to get the best, it has to come from outside the country. Am I right on that
Yeah,
sentiment for you?
yes, yes. So that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Because I think, like I mentioned earlier, we have good wood, we have good leather, we could have good fabric. Okay, so how can we take advantage of what we have and create made in Nigeria? So that's one of the reasons why I started the factory, so that we can change the narrative and change the mindset of people that you can actually have the same thing and you wouldn't notice the difference between made in Italy or made in Nigeria and all that. But people are
Right.
beginning to embrace it. But I'm sure with time, with more education, with more quality products coming out, and with having, if we have more people like myself, come out to say, okay, do you know what? We can do
Hmm.
this on a bigger scale. We can have a bigger factory because I can't do it alone, right? If we have the government
Right.
pushing and also supporting what we're doing, then I think with time it will become something that we can also export to America. So people can actually
Mm.
buy furniture from us and things like that. But I'm sure with time we'll be able to do that. So for me, just letting them know we can actually do this. Yes, we can actually do
This
it.
I'm laughing because this is the thing. It's like you see a problem and it's like, oh, I could solve this problem, and now you're
Yeah.
like, and I'm going to change my country. Like, like it's just. And I guess I'm way ahead of my listeners right now because I keep saying this, but this is what's so ridiculously impressive about you, Jennifer, is
Thank
that
you.
it's not like you could look. Any one of us could say, hey, I'm going to employ an upholsterer. I am
Mhm.
going to get the machinery for 1 or 2 workers, three craftsmen, and work with them, teach them the machinery that they need to make custom furniture, upholster pieces right here. And I'm going to supply it to my own clients and maybe the people that are at my school, a couple, blah, blah. And you're like, no, let's just, you know what? Let's get a huge factory. Let's
Yeah.
change the thinking in Nigeria. Let's up level the whole thing and, make a generational shift is what you are looking to do. And,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. It probably will take almost a generation to create a big, significant shift. Do you agree? Does that seem rational to you, that
Yeah,
idea?
yes, I agree. So, like most times, people fondly call me the minister. Okay, people fondly say I'm the minister in the interior design space. So, basically, like a pastor,
Yeah.
like someone who is on an assignment, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes.
So I just like
On a
on a
mission.
mission. Yeah. So I just like to solve
Yeah.
problems, and I tell people I only solve problems within the industry. Once it's outside the industry, I'm not interested. So I think for me, I'm just passionate about the industry. I'm passionate about interior design. I'm passionate about transforming lives and businesses through interior design. So whatever way I can, I will. So, and the good thing is, recently we're already thinking of having an exhibition where we would have interior designers and furniture people exhibit just made in Nigeria products. So we're looking towards that.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're hoping to have that this year, where we can actually showcase made in Nigeria, have the government people come around, have the banks come around, and actually see what we can do, and hopefully get funding or get support or whatever it is. But it has to start from somewhere. Yeah, so we're looking at doing that.
Yes. So it's a show and tell. It's like, look, I've been telling you about it, but now let me show it to you so that
Yeah,
you can see. Like
right.
I'm
So
saying, like there's that brick wall. Nope, not a wall for me. I'm
yes,
going to go right through it.
yeah, that's who I am in a nutshell.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And so it's, it's funny because it is something that we kind of, not kind of, we absolutely take for granted.
We
I
take
mean,
for
we
granted,
order
yeah.
from a factory furniture. Yeah, it's made in North Carolina and we're pissed when it takes 2 weeks to get here. It's like, what's going on?
And so, if I may come in, because most times I tell people, imagine if I was an interior designer in America, I would do brilliantly, as in I'll be so excellent. So what do I mean by that? Now in Nigeria, when we do 3Ds, and we show a client, right, and you want to produce in Nigeria, the question now is, it doesn't look like what you sent to me, because it's two different variations, right? But for you guys, you can actually do a 3D. You can actually order, and the same thing that you ordered, you actually would get the same thing that was ordered. But now
Yeah.
we can't. We're not ordering, but we're showing you a picture of what it would look like. Now it comes out, and the
Yeah.
client is like,
Yeah.
"Nah, this is not what I ordered," right? So that's also a problem for us, right? So, but I think until we get to the level where we're able to have ours, yes, and actually say, this is what you ordered and this is what you have, then that's it. So that's the problem we have when it comes to designing too, because it doesn't it doesn't match
Yeah.
exactly
It
what
doesn't
we've
line
seen.
up
Yeah,
always. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in your design business, Jennifer, is it the type, what is the business model like? Do you do only full homes? Is it a lot of renovation or a lot of new builds? Is it mostly decoration, design and decoration, taking a single room and redoing all this? Like, is there a lane that your particular business, lives in, say 60 or 80% of the time? I know all businesses kind of cross to different types of projects, but is there a main type of project that is your sweet spot?
So I think for me, I kind of dabble into anything, anything interior design, so from residential to commercial and things like that. But however, when I look back unconsciously, when I look back at most of the projects I've done unconsciously, they've been schools unconsciously. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so
How
unconsciously. So
funny
my
is
first
that?
project was a secondary school. We had to work on their boarding house and things like that. So when I look back unconsciously, I kind of am drawn to schools. So I don't know if it's because I teach, I don't know, or it's something I'm just comfortable
Yeah.
with. So I would say I love doing schools, which is something that just happens. But most times we do anything, it could be residential, it could be commercial. But when I look back, it's actually mostly schools.
Interesting, interesting. And is it the same in the US where when you go to do any commercial project, but particularly a school project, there's going to be all kinds of codes that are not that are required to be within more so than residential. Is that the same
Yeah.
in Nigeria as
Yeah, we
well?
have your building codes and all that. We have all that. So the good thing
Yeah.
is now people are getting more aware about the importance of interior design or importance of an interior designer. So yeah, so things like when it comes to especially commercial, details are taken, and you have to make sure that things are done appropriately, or else what will happen is you have government officials just come in and stop your project. So yes, we have regulatory bodies that govern or check everything that we do. Yes, so that we have
Good, good, good.
few houses collapsing.
And it's funny because you do have the interior design school now where you teach your colleagues the principles of design, space planning and proportion and all of the things like the design, the
Right,
pretty,
yeah.
I always call it, right? I had in my note, were you self taught? Did I write that properly? Or did you go to school and have a degree in design?
Okay, so I studied so I studied so many things. Okay, so I my first degree was in geology. my first
Your
deg-
first what?
my first degree was in geology.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
In geology.
Yeah, my
Okay.
first degree. So my master's was in applied computing and IT. Then I discovered my passion for interior design. Then I studied interior design at Interior Design Institute UK. So I did interior design.
That's right. You
Yeah.
told me that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I did interior design. I also took another course in commercial interior design. Then I took another course in business and branding for interior design, in same 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 institution. Then I went to Harvard and I did a course in business entrepreneurship. Yeah, so so I
And
didn't.
that's the thing. Like when I looked at my notes from our conversation, I had I wrote the word self taught, and I thought to myself today, what?
Right?
No, she told me about a gabillion degrees. I'm like, why did you write that? And I was like, all right, I don't know what that had anything to do with. Maybe in hindsight, it was. Maybe a lot of your countrymen were previously self taught until you
Yes,
started the school.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
that's probably what it was.
Yeah, because I must also meant,
Harvard, school
yeah.
in the UK, geology. Oh, self-taught.
So like I mentioned, like the truth is like in Nigeria now, we don't have any university teaching interior design.
Right,
So yeah,
right. I,
so that's one of the reasons why I started the school, because the
yeah.
question now is, if you have a passion, what happens? So if you can't go to the UK or you can go to America, does that mean that you would die with your passion, right? So, and that's one of the reasons I started the school. So we're beginning to create more awareness about it. We're hoping that with time the government will, because we have people doing architecture, yeah, but we don't have like a degree course in interior design. So most people in Nigeria are
Mm.
self-taught. Most people are self-taught, which is no fault of theirs anyway. So yeah,
No,
that's
no,
what
no. And of course, that's very common here as well.
mm,
But this is again, this is again like, oh, we don't have, craftsmen who understand how to use machinery, so we can't have furniture made here. Oh, let me start a factory. Oh, we don't have schools here in Nigeria so that you can follow your passion unless you have the luxury of being able to go to the US or the UK. Let me
yeah.
just start school and change that. Like,
Oh my god, yeah, that's me.
uh, I mean, force of nature is what I'm saying here. Okay, so starting the school. Tell me about the school. I remember that you telling me that there's a preference for your countrymen to take school classes in person versus via virtual through Zoom.
Yeah.
But you understand not everybody can travel everywhere. So you do offer, you start a school and they can come in person and do it, but then you also have virtual. And it's a 2-year program. Walk us through what's available for someone to take your go to your school in Nigeria.
Okay, so like you rightly said, yeah. So most times we have people who want to do the physical class, and that's because they want the hands-on experience. They want to talk to someone. They want to actually do the thing themselves, right? So that's why we have a lot of people coming for physical classes. For online, yes, online for us. Luckily for us, we started online before COVID. However, we didn't really
Mm.
have people coming attending online classes. But immediately we had after COVID. So after COVID, then it became obvious that yeah, online was the way to go.
It's okay.
Yeah. So funny
Okay.
enough, before COVID, most people didn't even know how to use Zoom. So it was like, what is
Right.
Zoom? Yeah. So that opened up our eyes and everything. So I think now people understand that, oh, I can actually study online and it's still the same experience that I have, but we still have the traditional people who want to just come to school. So we offer both physical and online. Now we're beginning to look at hybrid because we now have people who say, okay, I'm busy. I can only come once a week. I can't come every day. So how do we make it work? So we have the hybrid system for them. Then we have those who want to just do weekends. So I'm busy Monday to Friday. Can I do Saturdays only? So they can do Saturdays. Yeah. So we started off with certificate courses for 3 months and all that. Then we now scaled up to the diploma course for 2 years. And we take in anyone who just has a passion for interior design. But you should have a basic level of education, at least your A level or O level. And once you have that, that's fine. However, most of the people that we have are actually graduates, so they've had their first degree, they've studied architecture, they studied engineering, and they just want to do interior design. So what we found out is they actually were passionate about interior design, but because they didn't have interior, they couldn't study interior design, so they studied architecture. So now there's
Right.
an opportunity. So it's like, oh, finally, I get to do what I want to do. So we have mostly architects who have a BSc in architecture, even masters in architecture, actually coming in to do interior design. So it makes it easier for us because they have the knowledge anyway. So it
Yeah,
makes it easier.
you're working with an
Yeah,
educated pool of students who,
yeah,
yeah, and also that passion tied to it. It's not like,
yeah.
well, I mean, I may as well do this. It's like, oh no,
Uh-huh.
no, no, I've
No,
been
no.
waiting for this, and this is
Yeah,
exciting, right?
yeah. So it makes it easier. Yeah, it makes it easier to
Now,
just
I
stick
know
to.
that Nigeria is, and I know this because I chat GBT'd it, Jennifer, that Nigeria is roughly twice the size of California.
Yeah.
Okay, so for context for all of us listening, so when you have the school in person, is it one location or do you have satellite offices? Because twice the size of California is, look, it's not as big as the US, but it's big enough that
Hmm.
it's a big area. So is it right now, one location and then remote, if not, or do you have multiple? Because it wouldn't surprise me if you're like, oh no, how could I do just one location, LuAnn? We have to have 10.
Okay, you got me there. Okay,
Oh,
so
you
presently,
know what? That's a little lazy. It's a little lazy, Jen. I just gotta say,
yeah,
like, if I'm all the way up in the north, come on.
yeah, you got me there. So you studied me very well. Yeah, so we have one location now, but we just got another location. We're moving in May.
Oh, well, see, there you go.
You say so? Yeah, you know me too well. Yeah, so we have
Oh,
another location
gosh.
in May, which is yeah, which will start in May. Yeah.
Okay.
So most times what happens is people come to the location we are in now, and those who want to do online do online. Funny enough, we actually have people travel all the way to our states because I'm in Lagos State, right? So we have other states in Nigeria. So we have people actually come all the way, some 6 hours journey, come all the way to stay. So I also um, have like a short let apartment for them. So
A
those who
what?
come,
Say it again.
so I have like an Airbnb kind of thing.
OMG.
Yeah. So when they
You
come
are
in,
certifiable.
so yes,
I
so
have another side business in real estate where I have all these short term rentals so that my students can rent them and stay here.
yeah. So the thing is, so the thing is, so where I come from, so my ethnic group, we're called Igbos, right? So Igbos are very business oriented. So it comes with where I'm from. Yeah, we don't miss out on any opportunities. So it's like, okay, we don't say we can't do anything. We make sure anything that you throw at us, right, we actually make it happen. So for me, it was just a question as we had people making inquiries. They wanted to come down to Lagos. They didn't have accommodation. They had nowhere to stay. And I'm like, oh, that's money we're losing, right? So, okay, what would it cost? Okay, let's find out. And okay, let's do something. And we got the accommodation. We sorted it out. And it was good because we now had people come from outside Lagos come into Lagos to study. Now, the good thing is we've
That's
actually had
awesome.
students come from Cameroon, that's neighboring countries in Africa, actually come and stay with us
Oh,
at their yeah, yeah. So it's
oh, that's
so for me, it's
awesome.
like it's a business, but at the same time, I'm also solving
Sure.
problems. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I would say, you know what? That's really what you are. You are a major problem solver.
solver.
You
Yeah,
see it and you don't wish for somebody else to do something about it. You're just like,
yeah,
okay, we'll do that too. We'll
yeah,
just figure that out too. It's really,
yeah.
and I've been laughing a lot and all the things, but it's impressive. It's
Thank
remarkable.
you. Thank
That's an insane amount of dedication and energy, I have to
you.
say. You
Yeah, and
know,
it doesn't stop.
that's nuts. No, no, I
It
can't
doesn't stop.
imagine. It's so funny because people call me intense and all the things, and it's like I'm like you. I'm like, it's funny, it's laughy, but like in real life, I can't even imagine being in your world. Be like, oh my
Yeah.
god, keep moving.
It's a lot. But the thing is, I enjoy it because, like I
Oh
tell
my
people,
god,
it's within the interior design space. So it doesn't feel like a lot of work. So, my definition of
because
multiple
you love it.
streams of income is doing the same thing within the same industry. So for me, it's kind of like an
Yeah,
ecosystem because when I train students, I don't have problems having staff for the Jenniez Design arm because naturally what happens is if it's trained, I can get students from there who can work with me. So that's a system. When we have other interior design companies looking for who to hire, we already have a HR process where you can come hire from us. So that's another income stream. So yeah, so the journey design is fine. Now you're a student, you're looking for where to stay. That's sorted. You have where to stay, so you have an excuse not to come to school. So that's fine. We went a step further and we started a takeout, so like a cafe kind of thing for the students because it was now a question of they come around, where do I eat? I'm like, okay, we need,
OMG.
yeah, we need to start a restaurant. So that's fine.
Oh,
So the money is in the system.
oh my gosh. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
So, but it's just
That's next level.
that's convenient.
That's next level. So here's the funny thing: it's like the rest of us, all the salespeople in the world, we hear the sales objections, and we're like, "Oh, you really love our school, and you've saved your money, and you really want to attend, and you're passionate. Oh, but you don't have any family to stay with here, and you don't know how you're
Mhm.
going to live here. Oh." Yeah, okay. Well, I guess you can't join. No, all right. Let me get some apartments. Oh,
Yeah.
you're here, but you don't know how to cook, and there's no restaurants. You know what to do? Okay,
Yeah.
let
Okay.
me get some food here for you. Like, honest to God, it's like it's like it's almost like you're like just dare me
Yeah.
to not have something that so that you can say yes to this,
Yeah.
right?
That's me.
And what I heard in there is it's like so when your students graduate from the design school, you also have developed a little recruiting process
Yeah.
there that you get a little piece of too when you place them.
Yeah. So nothing is yeah. Everybody's
Wait,
important.
do you have an affiliate link for the tape measures and the laser
No.
measures in the country?
No, not yet. I'm not that bad.
Not yet.
I'm not
How about
yet.
the blueprint paper, right?
No,
Like, come
no, not
on.
yet. Not yet.
It's
But it's
it's
fun.
it's crazy. It's well thought out, and it's not easy. Like we're making fun about it, but where is the like you're doing a design business, you're doing a design school. I'm going to start asking you about the coaching in a moment, the factory, and like how many people on your team run now we've got a restaurant, now we've got apartment living. I mean, that apartment living has to be turned over. Somebody moves out, somebody has to clean it, somebody
Yeah.
has to paint it,
Mhm.
somebody has to make sure it's kept up. I mean, this is funny, but this is like a lot of responsibility and a lot of coordination.
Yeah.
Do you have different is it all under one company, Jennifer, too? And with like or is it like separate little satellite companies that you've got one or two people over here on the apartment side, one or two people here on the design side, one or two people here on the, how do you organize that?
Okay. So the good thing is we're in one building on different floors. So
Mm,
that's it. So the restaurant is downstairs, and the Airbnb is downstairs, and the school is on the first floor and the second floor. So we're all on the same building. So I can just
Wow.
literally just go downstairs to the cafe. I can go to the Airbnb. So everything, as we're managing the same resource.
Oh,
So
is right
it's not in
there.
different
Oh,
locations. Yeah. So in terms of staffing, I have
smart.
about 25, 30 if we put everybody together, but we're all in the same building. So it just makes it easy. I could decide to come to work and say, okay, let me go spend time in the takeout today, or let me see what's happening in
Yeah.
design. Yeah. So it's just in one space. It's just the factory. The factory is just like 5 minutes away from here. So that's just the
Okay.
only one that's different. But every other thing is in one building. So it's easy to coordinate. So what that means is if I have a chief operating officer is coordinating everything, HR is for
Right.
everything, accountant is for everything. So it's yeah,
Smart.
yeah.
Smart,
So it's
smart.
actually
I mean, something has to be convenient and easy for you
yeah,
running an empire this size. I
yeah,
mean, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Oh
So it's
my gosh,
yeah,
that's incredible.
yeah,
Okay, so and then you have about 25 or 30 people that
yeah,
work for
yeah.
you and with you in running all these
Mhm,
different
mhm.
ventures.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very
Mm,
interesting. Very interesting. Okay. And then the other component of all of this is the design
mhm,
business
mhm,
coaching. So you not only teach designers how to design, but then you also do like we do over
mhm.
here and you teach them how to run the business part of it.
Yeah.
And that is not through the diploma program or anything. That is a separate entity yet again that someone can avail themselves and purchase, but it's not wrapped. It's not like we always say here in the US, the schools don't teach, the design schools don't
Okay.
teach them the business. They get a semester on business practices, yay you know enough to be dangerous, which is exactly what they are, is dangerous at that
Mhm.
point. Like to themselves, actually, to their
Yeah.
own profitability. So, but it is a separate thing. Somebody can go through the whole thing and then decide they want business coaching through you on how to run the business. Tell us about how that works.
Okay, so for us, after we started school, then we had people ask, "Do you teach the business side?" So that came up because I also understood that most people, okay, now you have the knowledge, but you don't have the business skills to actually run it. So it just became the only natural thing to do to start that. So, but basically, the coaching is me coaching the students. So we have people who either have studied with us and want to now take it up next level, understand the business part, or we have people who have been in the industry for a long time and just have been doing it themselves and now want to learn how to run a proper business and or to grow or to scale and stuff like that. So yes, so this kind of people that we have for the coaching, but the coaching is most times it's mostly me. I because I like the one-on-one kind of thing. It's mostly group coaching or one-on-one coaching and all that. Yeah, so but most times it's online. I don't do physical. It was initially I was doing physical, but just so that we can cover more people, I do online.
Mm,
So even if you're not in the same state as I am, like now we have a
mm,
session on now. So we have people from other states who come for the coaching class and all that. Yeah. So that's
mm.
also another thing.
And what do you find are some of the commonalities in the challenges that the designers you coach face in running the business side of it? Are there some things that come to mind, Jennifer, that stick out?
Yeah, so same thing. Sourcing. How do I source for items? How do I price? How do I price? Some it could be how do I market myself? How do I brand myself? How do I deal with artisans? How do I deal with clients? So it's a combination of so many things.
All the same stuff.
Yeah, so like I always tell people, I think we we all go through the same challenges, even in America. So
Right.
it's just how can you make it happen for you within your locality? How can you source for things within your locality, or how do you deal with Nigerian clients? Considering the fact that we have 250 ethnic groups, so
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
how do you get yeah, so how do you deal with them? How do you design for them? Because the way you design for client A is completely different from client B because culture is different and stuff like that. So yeah, so we
Yeah.
teach them all that, how to deal with clients, how to manage them, pricing and all that. So I think it's basically the same challenges. It's just that it's geared towards the Nigerian market. Yeah, that's it.
Mm. So, and what are are like if you look, every designer you talk to over here is going to have a different pricing model,
Mhm,
right? But the main pricing models, fee structures are entirely flat
mhm,
fee, or entirely hourly, or a combination where they might do a
That
flat
and
fee for the design project and then maybe hourly for project management, stuff like that. Does that ring true for your business model over there as well, or is it completely different?
so what we do is either we do flat fee, which I advise flat fee, or we do the percentage of the total. But
Oh,
for hourly, we don't, because the Nigerian the Nigerian man or woman will think if you were going to pay hourly, so what that means is the person, if you're going to do it in 2 hours, I promise you, the person is going to be there for the next 5 hours doing one thing.
oh,
Yeah.
so that's what the Nigerian consumer thinks is going to
Yeah.
happen, that
So
you're just the designer is gonna knowingly just take 5 hours to do something.
yeah, when
Okay.
genuinely you
So
actually need
it's a
5 hours,
the
right?
mindset.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
mindset. So they
yeah.
just feel, what are you doing? Why are you taking 5 hours? Why are you taking 12 hours? You get, but they don't understand, and that's because they don't understand what it takes. They don't understand the
Yes.
process. They don't understand anything. So,
Right.
but I think with time, when they begin to understand what we actually do, then it becomes more appreciated. But for now, I just tell people just do flat fee. We'll do a percentage, and that's fine. So we don't do hourly. No,
Okay.
we don't.
Okay, and when you say percentage, is it a percentage
Of
of
the
the square foot of the project? Is it a percentage of the
total
total,
amount.
construction?
the
What is
total
it?
amount, the total amount of the project. Yeah,
So product and like all the products, like, so if you
product,
were doing sheetrock and painting and carpet and furniture, you just total the whole
everything.
thing up,
Yeah,
everything. You
and we,
total it all up and you take a
yes,
percentage.
yeah. So what
Okay.
happens
And what's
is,
interesting
yeah,
is, go ahead.
sorry. What happens is, you still have clients when you do the total, and you want to take a percentage. So you have clients say, "Could you know what? Take the chair off. I don't want this table anymore." I think I have paint. So so what you now see is they begin to remove things, because what comes to their mind is she's taking 20% of the total. That's a lot of money, right? So they begin to
Yes.
take things off. So most times I just tell people, do you know what? Just give them a flat fee. So if you want to take anything
Yeah.
off, that's your business. You're still going to pay my flat fee. Yeah.
Right, right, right.
So,
Well, it's funny because that's what I was about to
mm,
say when we both were talking at the same moment there is if the mindset is a fear that you're going to just take 5 hours, then I was thinking, well, then doesn't the mindset enter like, why do I need a $3,000 rug?
mhm,
Like I could have a $500 rug, and why did you specify that kind of chandelier? You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like, so yeah, so what you're and it is education, right? We
That's
face it
education.
here
Yeah.
as well, but what I have found over the 8 years of podcasting and my 35, 40 years plus before that of working with designers is the more seasoned the designer is and the more able the designer is to say, this is my highway. This is how it goes. I'm going to price on percentage, or I'm going to price on hourly or flat fee, whatever it is. It's just the delivery of this is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
However, to your point, it is also very incumbent on having an educated consumer that is much more likely to be comfortable conversation with a client in the US that has worked with a designer before and understands
And
the value. That first time consumer is also more likely to say, how come it took 5 hours to do that? And how come you picked that chandelier? So you just, it sounds like as Nigeria is just dealing with that education of the consumers,
yeah.
as we're all dealing with it here too, but we just seem maybe we're a tiny bit ahead of it or something, I guess, or just down the line a little further, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's why most times
Okay.
I always tell people, like, I've moved from doing designs for renters to homeowners, right? Because another challenge we face is when you have people who are renting and you want to do interior design, you get things like, no, don't change the tiles, don't change the flooring, it's not my house, it's not my house, just leave
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
just
yeah.
leave it. Okay, so it kind of
Yeah.
limits you, so you really can't do much. So they just tell you, just change the chair, just leave the curtains, or do this, do that. But we find that
Yeah.
when it's a homeowner, then there's this excitement that comes in with, oh, it's my house, I just built it,
The
so
pride
do
of
your thing.
ownership.
Yeah, so they allow you to do your
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So it depends on who you're
Yeah.
working with at
Yeah.
the time. Yeah.
Because the other is valuable, but it's more decoration as opposed
Hmm.
to design, right? We're
Hmm.
going to impact the space by making it look more beautiful, but working with what we're given, as
Yeah.
opposed to being able to really make it their own. So that's
Hmm.
interesting. Okay. All right. And then the final thing that I do want to talk about is the fact that in Nigeria, which is approximately the size of two states of California, has more than 250 ethnic communities,
Yeah.
ethnic, right, each with their own language,
Hmm.
legitimately their own
Hmm.
language and their own traditions and
Hmm.
cultures. I mean, that's mind boggling to me, right? Like, that's mind boggling
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
And many times on this podcast, we've had the conversation about diversity and equity and inclusion. And we've talked about it from the standpoint of the people we hire, of being respectful to them and where they come from, and making sure that our businesses feel like a safe environment for someone of a different ethnicity or a different culture to be in our space and not have
Hmm.
microaggressions against them where we're just ramshotting and not realizing we're doing it. But then we've also had conversations on the podcast, Jessica Bantam's 2 episodes come to mind, where it's being cognizant of designing for different ethnicities and different cultures. And of course this extends to different like ADA and things like that, right? Like, there's all different ways that you have to design and account for diversity. But just in your school alone, the possibility of more than 250 different cultures and languages coming in, let alone, like you said, helping educate your designers to design and teach and work with this. This is not. This can't be that simple, Jennifer. It just can't. It just can't. I'm just sorry.
Well, I think for us, I think number one, we have one common language, that's English. Okay, so at
Okay.
least we all can speak English, so that's fine.
Okay.
So that's one thing.
So the school is
In
conducted in
English, so
English.
that's fine. Yeah. So
Okay.
now,
Okay.
we don't need to translate. We don't need to. No, it's same English. Yeah. The only difference is how you deal with someone from maybe one ethnic group is different. So, take for example, if we're designing for a client, now there are some ethnic groups that think color black is demonic, right? Or it's,
Mm.
yeah. So, if you're dealing with that kind of client, you need to understand where they come from, what culture do they, yeah, what religion, because we're also a very religious country. What religion do they practice and things like that. Once we understand that, then it helps to guide what kind of designs can we come up with. So I won't just come and say, oh, you should use blackface or black leather sofa and all that. I need to understand exactly who they are, right? So it's a no-no for some people. For some people, white is a no-no, right? So you need to understand.
Mm.
For some people, red, you dare not use red. That means you're the devil, right? So
Whoa.
yeah, so different cultures have colors. Color means different things to different people. So that's where we now have to think about diversity and how we make it work. But in terms of communication, English is what we speak. The only difference is in the tonation, so how they pronounce their words. Then you know,
Um,
okay, this person is from the north, this person is from the south. From the accent, yeah, that's the word. From the accent, then you can differentiate. So, and good thing is most Nigerians kind of learn or can understand two languages, right? So the barest minimum, yeah. So for someone like me, I grew up in the West, but I'm from the East, right? So I understand languages from the East. I grew up in the West. I was born in the West, so I understand Western. So anywhere I fall in, right, I can actually speak. Yeah. So not the 250,
okay.
but there's some common languages that even if you go to any part of Nigeria and you speak, you actually have someone who understands what you're saying. Yeah, so but English is the main factor. It just comes to just when it comes to designing, then we're now conscious of who we're dealing with. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah.
So is it that in your same state, right? So
Hmm.
your state has a language.
Hmm.
When you go out into the world in your state where you live, even though everybody speaks English, will you communicate at the grocery stores and the different things in that language? And
No.
you guys switch to English when you are going cross state to state, and you're like, oh, you don't understand this language, so we go to English. How does that work?
Okay, so we speak English, right? So in every state that you go to, everybody speaks English, right? Now we have another English which is called the Pidgin English. So it's like how Jamaicans have their own kind of English. So we have the
Oh,
Pidgin English, which is common to Nigerians. So every Nigerian understands Pidgin English. So even if you don't understand the proper English, we have another English. Yeah. So once you say or
and
speak,
so
yeah, anywhere would they would understand. Yeah.
so is it in your own families that the 250 different languages stay alive because commerce is in English or pidgin English? Is so where does the different those all those language stay alive?
Um. So it's not the family thing. It's so. So take for example, if I were to meet someone from my place, um, when they speak English, because of the accent, once I pick it, I can now decide to switch my language and speak in the
Gotcha.
language. So they're like, oh, you're from my, do you understand? So then we communicate better, right? However, even
Uh-huh.
if I'm not from that place, and let's assume I understand the language, and I can pick from your accent that you're from that place. Once I speak the language, I don't know how to speak. Nigeria is just a very
You
unique.
slip into it.
Yeah, but Nigeria is a very
Yeah.
unique country because at the end of the day, we all can figure out how to communicate, and that's it. We can. There's no part of
It's
Nigeria I will
amazing.
go to and I will not be able to communicate. It's not possible. So we always have. There's
It's
always a
amazing.
way. There's always a way.
That's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
it's like it reminds me of like the few times I've been to France and I
Mhm.
studied French a little, and I got to the point where I knew it pretty good, but like basic rudimentary, but like more than, je m'appelle, right? Like you
Yeah,
know what I'm
that's
saying?
just
But
sweet.
honestly, yeah, but honestly, Jennifer, there wasn't a French person who would let me do my second sentence in French. As soon as they would hear, even I did this long, complicated, hi, good afternoon, how are you? I would love to know how to do blah, blah, blah.
No,
They
no,
would
no.
answer me in English. I'm like, come on. You know what I mean? Because my accent was so bad. Literally,
Mhm.
my accent was so bad that they're like, no, we're not even playing this
No,
game
they're
with
not
you.
even doing this. Yeah.
So, not from the standpoint of somebody's accent being bad, but when you pick up that somebody's
Hmm.
from a certain place, you just all fold into it and you're like, oh,
Yes.
we can do this quicker and easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
It's
that's it.
just
Yeah.
interesting. Cultures always have interested me, and the way
Yeah.
they function and the way that people move within them and stuff. And
Yeah.
that's just, I can't even imagine. I mean, of course, like California, taking as an example, there's so many Spanish speaking people, obviously. I mean, all across the US now, but I mean, particularly California. But that's okay. And then maybe you've got like in New York City, we've got Little Italy and we've
Hmm.
got Chinatown, and of course those sound like, commercial places, but tourist places, but that is where that community lives.
Yeah.
And so you will go into the shops there, and there are more people speaking the different languages there, but it's not like legit
200.
250 different like it's like
Yeah, we're just unique. I
crazy.
don't know what it is, but like I always tell people, I
Yeah.
think Nigeria is just a. I don't think there's any country like Nigeria. That's what I think. We're just a group of. I don't know
Yeah.
where they brought. I don't know how we all came together, but we're just a group of unique
Yeah,
people
right?
living together and not killing ourselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think we're just a bunch of. I don't know, unique, different people. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very special.
yeah,
It's very interesting.
yeah.
And when you are teaching your students in both the design school and the design business, so you have these broad strokes like the color,
Hmm.
right? Where, these are disrespectful or these are no-nos or whatever based on the things. But are there also like design, like, you know, the words, like, you know, here in the US, we've got the California vibe, we've
Mm-hmm.
got the shiplap of the South vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm going to get emails on the whole South isn't shiplap. Like,
Yeah.
watch them come, Jen. I'll send them to you when I get them.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? And like, we do have the different types that are somewhat geographical,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to find somebody in the middle of Iowa that wants it decorated like a New York City modern apartment. And do when you have all the different cultures there, is it more like, hey, if you're in this area, you're probably going to want this sort of design aesthetic, or do they cross
I
too?
get you. Okay, so it depends on where you come from. So those who come from the east like Victorian style, funny enough. So the Victorian style with all the so for them it's grand. It shows you're rich. It shows you have money, that kind of thing. So they would like to go for things like that. Coming to the West, you have people who want the contemporary kind of style. So we don't have like a Nigerian style kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm,
So we still look at the other styles. What's happening now? People are going towards minimalist or Scandinavian. So they have different um, design styles. So it also cuts across generations. Like the Gen Zs will like your contemporary or your minimalist or your Scandinavian kind of designs, but the elderly ones would like Victorian. Um, the
mm,
rich ones, those in government, always like Victorian because most of the furniture is
mm.
either coming,
Opulent
yeah,
feels.
yeah, it feels opulent. So from Italy, from Turkey, that kind of thing. So it just shows the kind of money. So it's just an expression of who you are, what class you are. So that determines the design style that they go for. So for some of them, if you want
Interesting.
to do contemporary, it's like, nah, it's too basic. It doesn't show I have money. If you want to do minimalist, it's like, nah, you're making it worse. Like, no. Do you understand? So, but the younger ones would want minimalist, would want contemporary because they understand. Yeah. So it depends on your level, your class. Um, that determines the design style.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. But what you're saying is, so maybe you have five different government type officials that are at like that want that Victorian opulent type of a thing.
Mm.
But then if one is from one area, you might not be able to use the color white. And if another one's from another area, you might not be able to use the color red.
Yeah.
So that's where that classification. So the different 250 areas, different ethnicities are going to cross all within. But then when you get to that level, you
You're
have
not
to know that
differentiate.
as a designer.
Yes. Yes. You're not differentiate
And
color.
if you make
Yeah.
that mistake, Jennifer, as a designer, and you were to suggest to someone who is in the religion or culture that, say, would not have read, is it a serious faux pas? Is it an insult? Is it disrespect in a big way? Or is it like, hey, sweetie, we don't use that here. I don't want that in my
Yeah.
house. Like, how big of a faux pas is it?
Now it depends on how. So it depends on how you deal with your clients, right? If they genuinely see that you just didn't know, and it's fine. So they just let you know that no, we don't do black, right? So it's fine. So you go change it. It's nothing. It's not that deep, right? It's when it's obvious that maybe you already know the person. Take for example, you know the person is a Muslim, you understand maybe he's a spiritual person or something, and you go do otherwise, then that means you're intentionally going out of your way to offend the person. So, take for example, there was a time I wanted to do something for a pastor, and I saw this decorative piece that looked like it was a lion, right? And I was confused. I was thinking, if I take it, would he like it? Would he want it? So I asked him, and he was like, "Oh, excellent!" Because even Jesus is the lion of the tribe of Judah. So he came from the
Okay.
spiritual angle, right? So that's fine. Now, if I had taken that
Okay.
same piece somewhere else, the person might be like, "What the hell? Why are you bringing a piece that looks like a lion in my house? I'm not into animals or
Right.
something." So it depends on who you're designing for. It depends on how they perceive things like that, and that determines the kind of
Hmm.
design. So you just have to, like I tell my students, listen to your clients when you go visit them or try and even go to their spaces. Look around, see how they live presently, understand the kind of things that they
Mm,
go for. Because there's some homes that when you go into in Nigeria, you can't go in with your shoes. You have to pull your shoes
mm,
off before you go in, right? So most times it could be Muslims and stuff like that. So once you've come into that kind of house and you can see their shoes outside, he only tells you to pull your shoes off. Don't just walk in
Right,
and
right, right, right.
yeah. So you just have to be very sensitive to
Yes.
things. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it is what the conversation in design is moving towards in the US also
Mm,
is
yeah.
no one I don't think expects each of us, each of you, I'm not a designer, to be perfect when you do it, but it's taking the time to understand your client. That's
Yeah.
what the onus is on the design industry, is
Yeah.
to not just make assumptions that this person has the same values and the same, beliefs that you do about the items and the colors and the selections. It's funny
Mhm.
because we'll link Jessica Bantam's episode in the show notes because her entire book, which we'll also link in the show notes, talks about how, as a designer, it's that inquiry process and it's that discovery process where, to your point, it's if you honestly have done a lot of homework and you've done a lot of conversation and you make an honest mistake,
Mhm.
your client isn't going to be up in arms. But if you're just like a bull in a china closet and you don't consider it, that's when it's bad, right, Jen?
Yeah. Yeah, that's when it's bad. Yeah. So you just have to be
Yeah.
very sensitive. Like I always tell my students, you're as an interior designer, you're gonna be a therapist, you're gonna be a a sociologist, a psychologist, you're gonna be everything, a criminologist. So all your senses have to be very sharp, right? Like we have a culture in Nigeria where it's the man that provides um, for the family, right? We do not all. So like for America, you guys might do. I bring 50%, you bring 50%. But for Nigeria, it's a thing of pride if your husband provides for everything, right? So when you're designing
Ooh.
for, yeah, they want to do everything. They want to pay the fees. They want to pay the bills. They want to do everything. If you go out to a restaurant, the man wants to pay. So, and if you say you want to pay, that's an insult. That means you're saying he doesn't have money. Yeah. So,
Ooh.
um, so if we're designing for that kind of
And
person,
the thing is, the truth
yeah,
is,
mm,
in reality, you might be a two-income household, like
yeah,
yours, by the way.
yeah,
But in public, your husband pulls out the money to pay.
yes.
Otherwise, you're like slapping him in the face.
Yeah, that's it. So,
Interesting. Oh, see,
aha.
Vinny
So,
loves it when I pay. He says,
yeah,
"Thanks, Lou."
yeah, thank you. Yeah, so like I always tell people, so I always tell my students, right? So when you're designing for couples, you have to be very careful because it's different
Mm,
now. So I always tell them the man is providing the funds, but you need to also carry the woman along. Don't say
mm.
because he's the one providing, so you do not need her input. No, you also need her input because guess what? The same woman, if you disregard her in the process, for every single thing you bring into that space, she's going to say, I don't like it. And once she says, I don't like it, her husband doesn't want her to be
It's done.
upset. That's it. So you have to figure out a way to make her happy. Just doesn't matter who's paying. So your husband is paying, but just make her happy. Once you're able to balance that, then you're able to do a fantastic project. So I always tell them if you just go
Wow.
there and think that okay, the man is paying, because the men will tell you how much is it, and that's it. They're not interested in the process. They just want you to talk to their wife. So if the wife wants a red kitchen cabinet, that's fine. He's not bothered, right? So you just have to learn how to
Yeah.
balance it so that no one is offended. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of mind games. It's a lot of trying to understand you. It's a lot of work actually for us. It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like, and you don't have to answer this. You can tell me I'm not answering
Okay.
this and we can edit it out, by the way.
Okay.
But on the outside chance. So if I am coming to design for you, you're not an interior designer. You have an empire in a different vertical where you've done
Mm,
all the creative outlets of figuring out all the different things that you've done. If I come into your world and I'm going to design for you, I think it's pretty clear, unless I'm like half asleep through the conversation, that you are a literally ridiculously capable person. And
mm,
so, if I understand the culture and I understand that, yes, this is a given, that maybe even this is what I'm asking, even in your home, because of the culture you live in, I am not going to direct conversation to you about how something costs. I'm going to direct that to your husband. But like in your world, Jennifer, you're going to deal with the person and you're going to pick the thing and all the things. But I'm still, even though I might have Googled you and found out that you own 15 companies, am I still not going to say to you, Jennifer, what's your value decision on this price of this rug or this price of this cabinet?
So you're going to do that, right? But most times for the guys, they can't be bothered with things like that. So they're not
Right.
bothered with the cost of, they don't have time for which rug do you want, what color do you want. The guys are not interested. All they want is how much is it. So
Right.
yeah. So what
But
you
am I not presenting price to you and I'm just doing design with you? Or I'm
you're
talking to you
presenting
about what
both.
things cost
Okay.
this or that?
Okay. So you're presenting the
Okay.
price
But
and you're
then when it comes to
presenting.
get the money, okay.
Yeah, you're presenting the price, you're presenting the designs, you're presenting everything to the client. So, take for example, you're dealing with a couple, you're presenting to both of them. The man, most times, is just looking at how much is it. The woman is the one
Okay.
looking at the, okay, I don't want to red, I want yellow, I want this. But you all have to come to a compromise, okay? So, once she's finished picking
Okay.
what she wants or whatever design she likes, then all the man wants to know is, so what's the cost, right? So, once you give him the
Right.
cost
Right.
and his wife is happy, she's okay with it,
Mm-hmm.
then he would ask
Mm-hmm.
her, so can I pay? She's like, yeah, fine, I'm good. Then he goes
Got you.
ahead to pay, yeah. But you will talk to the two of them, but it just, well, the men are just not interested in the details. It's like you're wasting
Right.
your time, yeah.
But it's not at the point of what you're describing. It's not at the point where, like, often here, if the guy isn't interested, then the woman can literally do the entire thing and sign the checks and do all the stuff. That's not happening
No,
at
so
this
it can
point. It's
happen.
still
No, it can happen, but that means the husband has said, do you know what, you sort it out. So you're clear that,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you're clear that the husband has said, you sort it out, do what you want to
Okay.
do, just let me
Okay.
know whatever it is, and that's it. So you know it can happen. Yeah, it
Interesting.
depends on the couple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you must
Yeah.
carry
So,
them
but it's
along.
a lot of nuance.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot of
It's a
nuance,
lot.
is your point, and you can't make assumptions, is your point.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I have to say, I think to some extent that happens here as well. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But it's funny because we just had our exciting Windows conference um, as we're recording last weekend. I was in Dallas, and the window treatment industry, and of course, sales training in general has, the old school way was always, now I'm talking window treatments. I'm not
Mm.
talking about interior design
Yeah,
where you could have a $500,000 project. If you got to have both people
yeah.
on board. You have to at least get agreement that we know we're doing this. But with window treatments, you could have a $2,000 sale, you could have a $10,000 sale, you can have multiple hundreds of thousands as well. But on the smaller level sales, the old school way of training salespeople was all the decision makers have to be there. You have to
Mm.
call on the phone, and is your wife's going to be there? Or is your husband going to be there? And it was just interesting this past weekend. I had two people in our group ask me, how do you deal with that? Like, do you literally still suggest that we on our introductory call are saying, is your husband going to be home?
Mm.
Like, let's make an appointment when your husband's going to be there. And I'm like, it's not my advice to you, because if anybody says that to me that I'm inviting to my house, we've got a problem, Houston. Like, really, like, is my husband going to be there? Like, and the thing is, I'm not going to there's very few purchases that I'm going to make in my house that I'm not going to have a conversation with Vin about. There's 10, 20 things that I will. You want to get a painting? You want to get a rug? I'm not asking him. But I'm also not asking him to pay for it either,
Yeah.
right? But we're going to knock a wall out? Yeah,
Mm.
I'm going to have a conversation. But I'm probably going to have the appointment, gather all the information, the quotes, what's involved, and then run the number by him, and then have the person back for all of us getting together, right? And if you were to say to me, oh, sweetie, is your husband going to be there? I'm out. Like, no. And so it's just funny, right? Like, it's the way sales has evolved,
Yeah.
and you have to, kind of make concessions for it. And again, I don't want emails on this, because I do know when you are getting a couple, whether it's a man and a woman and a woman, a guy and a guy, like, if it's their home together and they're going to do a project with you that is 5, 6, 7 figures, yeah,
Yeah.
we have to be on
Yeah.
the same page, and we can't have people going through the process and then the other partner coming in after the fact and nixing things. But when you talk about, like, I want to get you to come over here and give me a quote for 4 wood blinds. You better not ask me if my husband's going to be home. It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
I get
I'm
you.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, like it's like me checking out at the grocery store,
yeah,
and I
that's it.
usually buy 100 every week, and one week it's 300. And you're saying, "Oh, Lou, does Vinny know you spent
300?
300 this week?"
No,
Uh,
no.
nope, nope. Right. So the thing is, there is, we have the cultural things here too,
Yeah,
right? Like, right. But, navigating 250 plus cultures is interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, you are absolutely incredible. I just love that the universe brought us together. I just one day I've got to get to Nigeria and I've got to meet you in person, or when you come to the US, you better darn well let me know.
definitely, definitely. I will come. I will come.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything that I left out? Is there anything I left out that you wanted to bring up? Because you have so much going on and so much to share. I don't want to not ask you
Okay.
that.
Nothing really. I think I would just say, thank you very much. And I also think that we should have more collaborations within the industry, locally and internationally, so that we get to learn from each other. And so that I'm excited about this podcast because definitely I've learned from you, you've learned from me, and we never can tell, as in if we all come together and work together. Because the truth is, what is bringing us together is design, right? And we still have the same challenges anyway. So
Yeah.
why not just come together and try and figure out how can we make this happen? Yeah. So if we have more collaborations, more networking amongst maybe Africa, other countries, and things like that, so that we can just get to see how we can design and it can be all inclusive. That'll be great too. That'll be great.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, you are a remarkable
Yeah.
lady, and I just have so much admiration and respect for you, and I'm so glad that we're
Yeah.
friends. So thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
for
being.
having me. I'm so excited. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. All right. I mean, I said it on the show, and now do you see what I mean? I mean, don't you feel like you have to get up and do something with your life after listening to her? I'm telling you, it's just, I mean, it's insane. I just feel like the universe knew we were meant to meet. I love her drive. I love her ability to see the gaps in the marketplace around her. And I love her ability to just like make it happen. I just can't. It's mind-boggling, honestly, and I'm so glad, Jennifer, that you joined me on the podcast to share your story with all of us. I mean, the thing is, though, here's what's crazy. Once you get past this crazy superpower of seeing a gap and putting things into action, like single-handedly, to some extent, it's almost like hearing someone at a panel discussion at market, right? She has a design business. She has challenges. She needs to figure out solutions. She needs to overcome them. And so, in that regard, we're alike in more ways than we might realize, okay, in this industry at large across the world. It turns out that they might be more commonalities than we might have previously thought. However, there are differences, and there are big differences. And this is exactly why Jennifer is calling for more international collaboration on all levels, right? Locally, nationally, and internationally is really her message. Okay, we are all part of this interior design community, and is up to all of us to share in the working toward the solutions. And I'd like to highlight a few things that stood out to me in this conversation. Let's start with the fact that Nigeria is a country twice the size of California, yet it has 250 different ethnic groups, each with their own distinct culture, distinct traditions, and language. I mean, this is mind-blowing, right? We can't even fathom that diversity in such a small area. And the fact that Jennifer does have this situation and she does navigate the nuances in all of these cultures in her design clients and her students is commendable. We need to be taking notes on this, my friends. Okay. Jennifer's ability to understand and cater to the diverse needs says a lot about her skills as a designer and an educator. Her approach to embracing cultural diversity and adapting her design solutions accordingly is something we can all learn from, regardless of where we live and work. You remember the episodes with Jessica Bantam. It was a 2-part series, episodes 908 and 912, and we will link them in the show notes. Jessica touched on this topic as we discussed her idea of culturally competent design. I recommend listening to these shows, and I recommend you get her book, which we also linked in the show notes, because I know, and you know, I want us to be good business people, but mostly I just want us to be good people. And we have to understand how to respect and interact and appreciate others, no matter where they come from, what their culture is, and how it differs from our own. Jennifer comes from the Lagos state, and her ethnic group is called Igbos. Jennifer said they are known for their business savvy and they don't miss out on opportunities. I would just say she's in the dictionary. You open it up and there she is, right? Her entrepreneurial spirit is running through her veins. When she needed furniture, she built a furniture factory. I can't even say this without laughing. When there wasn't anywhere for interior designers in Nigeria to study design nearby, she created a school with a certification program internationally accredited by IDCEC, I might add. And when those students needed somewhere to live and eat, she got into real estate and became a restaurateur on top of it. Okay. On top of all of that, when the students graduated and they wanted to start their own interior design businesses, but they needed help and guidance, she began offering business coaching too. I mean, her energy, her insight, it's just bonkers. I mean, it really is. Look, the ripple effect of Jennifer's superpowers, her efforts, cannot be overstated. By providing access to education, resources, and support, she is not only transforming individual lives, but she is contributing to the growth and the development of the entire interior design industry in Nigeria. Think about that. Her work is laying the foundation for a thriving community of designers who will continue to innovate, collaborate, and push boundaries of what is possible. Like 40, 50 years from now, imagine what that design community is going to be like. And it's because of her, because she saw the gap and she just took action. It's incredible. If this conversation motivated you to collaborate, I encourage you to connect with Jennifer on Instagram, where she and I first met. She's at Design Biz Coach, B-I-Z Coach. And we'll link that handle as well as her business and her school all in the show notes. Okay? Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for joining me today. This was so fun. And I just can't wait to see what's the next thing you take on. Oh my goodness. And thank you for joining me and for being part of this community here and for being part of the interior design community of planet Earth. All right. Stay tuned. Next week, we begin the road to 1,000, my friends. Yes, we are celebrating our 1,000th episode in July, and we are going to be doing all kinds of things every single week on the road to 1,000. So you can follow me on Instagram, my social channels, Facebook, the LuAnn and Friends Facebook group, and make sure that you're on my email list so you know all the things that we're planning on this incredible milestone, the road to 1,000. Thanks so much for listening. I do appreciate you. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.